My name is Emma, and 3 years ago was the worst day of my life. I was standing in a packed meeting room in Dallas, Texas, when my boss, Richard, looked straight at me and said, "You're done here. Pack your stuff and leave." The room went silent. People avoided eye contact while I stood there trying not to cry. I had worked for that company for 7 years. I gave up weekends, birthdays, and even family vacations for that job. But Richard didn't care. Before I walked out, he laughed and said, "You'll never find a position like this again." Everyone heard it. Everyone. As I carried my box of belongings through the office, I felt humiliated, angry, and completely broken. What Richard didn't know was that this wasn't the end of my story. It was only the beginning. The first few months were brutal. My savings disappeared faster than I expected. Every morning I sat at my kitchen table sending resumes and hearing nothing back. Bills piled up. Some nights I stared at the ceiling wondering if Richard had been right about me. Friends slowly stopped calling. The people who used to praise my work suddenly acted like I didn't exist. Then one evening, while scrolling through job listings, I realized something. I had spent years making other people rich. Why couldn't I build something for myself? That night, I opened my laptop and started planning a consulting business. I had no investors, no fancy office, and no backup plan. Just determination and a refusal to let the worst moment of my life define me. The first year was a struggle. I worked from a tiny apartment, taking every project I could find. Some clients paid late. Some disappeared without paying at all. But slowly, things started changing. One happy customer referred another, then another. Soon I was working 16-hour days, but this time every hour was building my own future. By the end of the second year, I had hired 3 employees. 6 months later, that number grew to 15. For the first time in my life, I felt truly free. No boss yelling at me, no office politics, just hard work and results. The company that started on my kitchen table was becoming something real. One morning, I received a phone call from a former coworker. "Emma," she said, "have you heard what's happening at your old company?" I hadn't. She explained that Richard's leadership had driven away major clients. Revenue was dropping. Employees were quitting. Investors were worried. At first, I felt sorry for the people still working there. Then she told me something that shocked me. The company was looking for buyers. After ending the call, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The same company that had thrown me away like I was worthless was now fighting to survive. Life has a funny way of turning things around. Over the next few weeks, my team and I reviewed every financial report we could find. The company was struggling, but it still had valuable contracts and a strong brand. After several meetings, my advisors asked if I was serious about making an offer. Honestly, I wasn't sure. Part of me wanted revenge. Another part wanted to move on. But eventually I realized this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about opportunity, so I submitted an offer. Months of negotiations followed. Lawyers, accountants, endless paperwork. Then one Friday afternoon, the deal was finalized. The company that had fired me now belonged to me. The following Monday, I walked through the same front doors where I had once carried a cardboard box filled with my belongings. This time, everything was different. Employees greeted me as the new owner. During an executive meeting, the door opened and Richard walked in. The look on his face was priceless. He froze when he saw me sitting at the head of the table. For a moment, nobody spoke. Finally, I smiled and said, "Good morning, Richard. Please have a seat." The room was completely silent. The man who had once humiliated me in front of everyone was now reporting to me. It felt unreal. A few weeks later, Richard asked to meet privately. He admitted that firing me had been a mistake. He said he underestimated me and never imagined I would come this far. I listened quietly. Then I thanked him. He looked confused. I explained that if he hadn't fired me, I never would have discovered what I was capable of achieving. I wasn't interested in humiliating him the way he had humiliated me. Success was my revenge. A year later, the company was thriving again. Employees were happier, profits were growing, and the culture had completely changed. Looking back, I realized something important. Sometimes the people who try to break you end up giving you the push you need to build a better life than you ever imagined. The day I got fired felt like the end of the world. In reality, it was the day my real story began.